Hello everyone and welcome to my another video with the Distress Ink blending color combinations, the Kit series. If you haven't watched my first video and don't know what the Kit series are referring to, I buy the mini ink version of Distress Inks and I always buy the kits, which are the packs that contain 4 inks. And I thought it would be fun to just use those 4 inks and see what color combinations I can create. This video is for the kit number 2. And these are the colors or inks that you get in this kit. Fired Brick, Mowed Lawn, Salty Ocean, and Seedless Preserve. To be honest, I was a little bit dreading this kit. I was not really inspired by the colors. Individually, these colors, or actually these specific inks, belong to my must-haves. But after I swatched them, these colors in this kit look a little bit gloomy. But in the end, I did come up with 3 color combinations. If you think of more, let me know in the comments. For my first color combination, I used the inks Fired Brick and Seedless Preserves. I already made a background using a color combination with reds and purples. You could see it here. I could have remade the card as this was just a YouTube short, and you can definitely do that, but I decided to do something different. I picked up this stamp set. It's an older stamp set from Clearly Besotted. I think it's like 5 years old and I have never used it. Don't know why, because it's really pretty. And it was perfect for what I wanted to create. I wanted to stamp the flowers in an L shape along the left and bottom edges of the cardstock. I'm not going to show you how I stamped all the images because I used a white embossing powder and in the video it just was not showing. I started with a Fired Brick and blended the ink along the left and bottom edge of the cardstock, covering the flowers. By the way, I'm using the Canson XL watercolor cardstock for all the blending. I usually blend 2 layers and then I move to the next color, in this case the Seedless Preserves. And here I was actually fading out the color. At the top right corner I wanted it to be lighter, which is completely optional. Next, I blended more ink, intensifying the color and blending the colors together. The blending is pretty much done and you can stop here and make your card. I did something extra which I will show you at the end of this video when I will be assembling the cards. But let's move on to the second color combination. Here I use the inks Seedless Preserves and Salty Ocean. Just like with the first card, I first stamped and heat embossed. I used this stamp with a rose, again from Clearly Besotted. This is also an older stamp. You can use whatever stamps you want, what you already have. That's what I did. These videos are not about the stamps, but the ink and the blending and the color combinations. I just did not want to make only the backgrounds. I wanted to make finished cards. For this one, I used a metallic silver embossing powder so you can see it better. And after I stamped and heat embossed, I started with the blending. My idea was to use the blue on the outside and the purple on the inside, covering the whole flower. I wasn't too excited about this color combination. Blue and purple do go together, but I don't know. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of this particular blue. But I did give it a try, and in the end, it did look very pretty. What I really liked is when you blend those inks together, it creates different purple, and that's what made it more interesting for me. The blending is pretty much done. The last thing I did, I added more salty ocean and blended it with the seedless preserves to create the other purple. Right now it looks a little bit bland. The rose is hardly visible, but that will be fixed when I will be making the cats. But now let's move on to the third color combination. I used here the inks Salty Ocean and Mowed Lawn. I was a little bit stuck here because I used the green and blue color combo in my video for the first kit, blending blue and yellow together. Very pretty color combination, but for this video I did not want to do the same. So I was thinking what else I could create. And what I decided on is to create a watercolor background, since distress inks can be also used as watercolors. Keeping up with the theme of using all the stamps that I haven't used before. By the way, not that I have any new stamps, that's why I'm saying use whatever you have in your stash. I picked this mandala stamp and stamped and heat embossed it in white. And to stamp it, I used the Tim Holtz stamping platform, which I bought specifically for big stamps like these. I will skip through the stamping again. Here is the image after I heat embossed it. I left the bottom part of the cardstock empty to place the greeting. To watercolor with distress inks, you just squish the ink onto a slick surface. I'm using here an acrylic block. And then you can either use a water brush pen or a normal brush and water in a jar, which is what I used here. I started by applying a clean water over the stamped image, doing the wet on wet technique. I used a damp brush to apply the inks, and as I was painting, I was switching between the inks. The application of the inks was very random. As I was painting, I thought I could have done the normal ink blending background, and I was thinking redoing the cat. I just did not want to deal with the big stamp and the big stamping platform. But you can definitely try it. And actually, this is what I had in mind and what I wanted to do when I bought this stamp. A simple watercolor background. And I really like the result. So the backgrounds are done. Before I move on to finishing the cats, let me show you a few additional blending examples. I did a few swatches to see what goes together. Here is the Fired Brick and Salty Ocean together. I have mixed feelings about this. I do like it, but the colors together create a grayish color. I was hoping for purple, since red and blue should create a purple. Then I did a swatch with Salty Ocean and Mowed Lawn, and as I thought, they combined very well. I was also thinking creating a simple landscape. I think that would also look great. And the last combo I was wondering about is a mix of Mowed Lawn and seedless preserves. When blended, they do create a brownish, muddy color. Usually this is considered bad, but I think it's quite interesting. Anyways, let's take the backgrounds and make them into cats, starting with the red and purple background. If you watch my first video, you already know what I'm going to do. When using flower stamps, I like to use the same inks I used for the background, sometimes additional inks as well, and watercolor the images. It just makes the image to stand out more. I squished the ink onto an acrylic block, and this time using a water brush pen, I colored the flowers. 2 flowers I painted with the purple and 2 with the red ink, but since I didn't clean up my brush between using each ink and there was red below already, the inks mixed a bit, which I did not mind. So the flowers are painted, I think they look really nice. And next I decided to add splatter, but only across the part where I didn't stamp. I just sprinkled a little bit of water across the panel and soaked it up with paper towel. Next I adhered the panel on top of a white card base, and for the greeting I used one of the sentiments that are part of the stamp set. I heat embossed it in white on a black cardstock, and then I fussy cut it with my scissors. I also used some Nuvo drops across the panel, which you can see in the photo. On the second background, I pretty much did the same. I watercolored the image. Here I think it was really needed because it was looking a little bit bland. I used the purple for the flower, the seedless preserves, and for the leaves I used the Mowed Lawn. As I showed you in the swatches, the mix of green and purple create a brownish color, and for the leaves this was perfect. It was actually a mixture of green and brown and purple. On this background, I also added some splatter. Sometimes I just cannot resist, and I only added the splatter around the flower. To finish up the card, I didn't add any greeting. I wasn't sure what kind of greeting I could put there, and I don't think the card really needs a greeting. I just adhered the panel on top of a white card base using a liquid glue. For the last panel, I didn't do anything extra. I just adhered it on top of a card base. This time I used a card base made out of a craft cardstock. And the greeting I adhered below it after the glue was dry. And that's it. There are more color combinations, but I want to keep these videos to 3 examples, max 5 if I'm really inspired. I hope you enjoyed this video and will try creating some of these backgrounds yourself, maybe even those that I just show as swatches. Make sure you subscribe because especially the next color combination should be interesting. If you know the kits, this one has the browns. But for now, thanks for watching and I will see you in my next video.